If, like me, you spend a lot of time on social media, you might have come across this story already or ones like it. There is currently a video going semi-viral about a photographer who left a wedding halfway through the wedding day with no explanation to the bride and groom. And in fact, the video I saw was the groom shouting out the content creator saying how great it was that they stepped in. So this episode I'm dedicating to the what the F when it comes to photographers, both what happens to photographers and what photographers are doing. And I'm basing this entirely what I'm seeing on the internet and my own personal experience because I've seen a lot over the years, dodgy edits, unprofessional attitudes, full-on wedding day walkouts. But lately those horror stories are piling up, not just on mine, but I can see it online. Imagine leaving halfway through a wedding without telling the wedding party. I mean, I'm seeing stories of people rocking up to shoots drunk, without their gear, playing clueless, photographing the wrong wedding party. So this episode isn't about taking the piss. No, trust me, we probably will. It's about setting that bar higher for clients, for photographers, and for the industry we love. If we don't call this stuff out, it'll just keep happening. So let's start with the chaos. And these are real horror stories. I have made them anonymous because girl, I don't want to be sued, but also I don't want to trash anyone's business any further. But they are real as far as I can tell. I will chuck in my own one. So, as both a guest and a photographer, I have seen a photographer leave a wedding. I have seen a photographer walk out of a wedding, and at times I have almost been tempted myself. Which you might go, Khandie, as if, but yes. But let's talk about this story that I brought up at the beginning. The photographer shows up, shoots part of the wedding, and then disappears apparently around the confetti shoot time. Nobody knows where they've gone. They look around, they can't find this person. The venue say this person left and is now claiming they're sick. Put it on their post, I'm sick, I feel unwell, I'm having a break, apparently. I'm like, whoa, not a word to the wedding party. That's crazy. I don't know, maybe there was a reason why they couldn't address them. Maybe something happened and they were uncomfortable and they're not yet ready to process it. But I have to agree with most people saying you should have at least told the bride and groom in some capacity. I know it's not a nice conversation to have, but they've paid you. Now, as a wedding guest, I saw a photographer leave a wedding. We went down to Cornwall. It was a beautiful wedding. It was a very much a country meets music industry because that's what these people were. They were very senior in the music industry, and then one of them was they come from a farming background as well, so they mixed it all together. It was really fun. Honestly, it was such a cool wedding. But the photographer left before the first kiss. Now we had no idea because we were watching the ceremony happen. But I just started looking around and going, "Where's the photographer? Where is that photographer?" Because I'm a photographer and I'm nosy. I can't help it. I'm nosy. And I couldn't see them. And I thought, oh, maybe they're right at the back. I'm not going to turn my head round. But sure enough, when the person said, we're going to get ready for the first kiss. Oh, where's the photographer? And everyone just turned around like a comedy show. Where's the photographer? It took the person in charge of the venue to come down to the front and say, "I'm so sorry, they left." And I was like, "What, they left?" And we all heard it. They went, and the person doing the ceremony went, "They left?" And everyone went, "What?" So quickly, loads of us at this wedding were actually in the creative world. So we were photographers, and what we grabbed, our phones, we grabbed some of the artists' cameras, and we went into town. We just went, "We'll do it." The reason this photographer left, that apparently she told the groom 2 weeks after, because she didn't reply, was because it wasn't quite the wedding she thought it was going to be. She was paid 1,800 and she thought it wasn't quite the wedding she was going to be. They were like, "We sent you Pinterest boards. We told you. We showed you our venue." And they said, "Yeah, it wasn't quite the wedding we thought it was going to be." And I was like, what kind of excuse is that? I don't know. But that was what happened. Okay. Now, fast forward me as a photographer, because I need to do some defense as photographers. So I was a second shooter. I was a last minute second shooter way down, I think it was Portsmouth, was it Plymouth? I get those two mixed up. It was years and years ago. I was in the area doing a shoot, and this photographer reached out and said, "Hey Khandie, my second shooter's let me down. Are you able to come along?" I was like, yeah, definitely. Girl wants to earn some money. So I went. And it was very nice. Don't get me wrong, everyone was really lovely until one of the bridesmaids showed up. And straight away, I don't know if she'd had a row with people, but the atmosphere changed in the entire room. Like, it became cold, it became dark, it became oppressive. I don't know. There was just a chill in the air. And she spoke to everybody like they were crap on her shoe, like they were beneath her. At one point, the photographer said to her, "Please don't talk to me like that." And they were like, "Well, you've got a job to do, so you need to be doing it because I'll be watching you." And I was like, who is this girl? Well, it turned out she was really unhappy she was not chief bridesmaid. Bearing in fact, the chief bridesmaid was the bride's sister. Now, I don't know if that was the bone of contention or what happened, but then she spent the whole day belittling people, and people kept saying, just ignore her, just ignore her. The fact is, you can't ignore this person. This person was poking people literally in the arm. And at one point, the main photographer, who I'm trying to keep anonymous because if her name comes out, I don't want to embarrass her, said, no, please don't do that to me. And this girl said, you're here to work, so why don't you work? You're spending too much time focusing on them. There's other people in the room. It's bridal prep. I'm gonna spend a majority of my time photographing the bride, and I heard this conversation, and we went outside to just regroup and just say, "Look, Brooke, we're gonna have to, like, divide and conquer this person. We're gonna have to just ignore them, and are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah." She came out. She tapped her foot and says, "I'm talking to you. You just walked off." She went, "We finished our conversation." So she stood there, I'm no joke, had her arms crossed and was tapping her foot. "Do not walk away from me." And I was like, "Whoa." Photographer turned around and goes, "I'm gonna give you one last warning before I leave because there is no way I'm gonna be here spoken to." It was words like that. Turned out this photographer, like most photographers, and including myself have a no harassment clause. Okay? We've gone and told the bride this was happening, and the bride, I'm like, it's the last thing you want to do is tell a bride on her wedding day you've got a problem. You don't want to do it. I always hate it when I see people going and tell the bride a problem. Sort the problem out. Don't bring it to the bride, okay? Or don't bring it to the groom. Sort it out. They are so highly stressed. But even the venue had gone and spoke to the bride and the bride's mother about the behavior of this person. And everyone was so angry that they couldn't get rid of her. They couldn't ask her to go somewhere else. And there was, for some reason, I don't know what, maybe there's a family dynamic. I don't know, but more and more people were getting annoyed. There was, and this, we don't know what happened, but needs to say, at one point, the photographer was photographing something, and the woman in question was so annoyed, she slammed down her cup of coffee, and it went all over the table, all over the photographer's camera. And the photographer went, "Do you know, I've had enough. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I've asked you to sort her out, and it's not happened." And I was there as this little second shooter with my little camera. Bear in mind, this is years and years ago, and I was like, "Oh, what do I do?" I said, "I'm gonna go. I'm not having this." Now, I think the photographer had to go anyway because the coffee was all over the camera. Okay. So I was like, "Oh, they need to sort that out." But the fact is, I know that it was just awful. And that this woman didn't care. She went, "Oh, for God's sake, it's nothing." Right? Which reminds me of a story a friend just told me, but I don't think I've got permission to share that just yet. But I was like, "Oh," and I was this little second shoot. I had no idea what to do. So the photographer packed up and said, "I'm going home. I'm not I'm just not." And I was like, they're like, "You can stay if you want to, but you're welcome to leave." And I was just like, "I'm gonna stay," because I felt bad. You saw this bride, she broke down in tears. There's a crying bride, the photographer's leaving, and I'm this second shooter, and I'm like, I don't know. I stayed, but this woman made my life hell. She made my life hell. And even then, no one pulled her up. I applaud the photographer for having the balls to leave. Honestly, I really do. Because we are not there to be mistreated. We have every expectation to be free from harassment at our workplace. I cannot imagine how that photographer felt because what I saw was atrocious. And even when reported, no one did anything because they didn't know how to handle her. Apparently, she was like, she was always like that. And she was a very, well, a groomsman said she was really indulged by her parents and, she doesn't understand if you tell her no, even like she says, like, she can't even hold down a job because if you tell her something, she just kicks off, and I was like, "There must be something else going on there," but, I'm not here to cast aspersions on somebody. It was awful. It was awful, so, yeah, I can understand that. Anyway, let's go on to number 2, the wrong wedding. A second shooter at a wedding followed and photographed the wrong groomsman, and when the bridal prep and the groom prep was put in the wedding album, the bride went, "Who are these people?" Now, I did read into this a little bit more. It is not necessarily the second shooter's fault. So the second shooter went to a reception and said, "Hey, I'm here to shoot the wedding," and apparently didn't give the name of the bride and groom over. And they were sent to the wedding party, the groom. And this was a groom for a second one. It was happening at the venue. So there was a miscommunication there. I don't know. I don't know why that the second shooter wasn't given the information of the names or why the hotel didn't go, "Oh, there's two. Do you know who it is?" It happened. It happened. It's the wrong couple. I don't think that's horrifically awful. I think that's a genuine mistake of a pure prep, but like not being done. Like you need to know the names of who's getting married. You need to know the names of people. It happens. But it's not nice, is it? I feel so sorry for that second shooter. I was like, oh no. I've also got one that I'm going to call. Now this is controversial because okay, the photographer shot everything in only JPEG. Now, there are people out there who love just shooting JPEG, and I'm not here to tell you it's wrong. But this bride said they edited it in an app on their phone and added these weird filters. They had orange skin tone, really bright whites of their eyes, and the bride said it made me look like a Halloween filter. It just made me look awful. And the photographer said, "I'm not changing what I've done. That's my edit." Now, my argument would be, did you check their portfolio? Did you check their portfolio? Because if you didn't, then I'm saying the buck stops with you. I don't think the photographer did anything wrong. This sounds awful, right? But if that's their portfolio and they were hired, they would do that work carrying forward. However, if this was not their portfolio, then they're definitely in the wrong. They are in the wrong. Your work on your portfolio should look like how you're going to edit. Okay. So when I see people, this is how I kind of say I can spot a beginner or an amateur photographer because they've got all these vastly different styles. And yeah, you haven't settled on a style. Well, your style could evolve and change, don't get me wrong. But if you're selling a service, you need to have like this is a reputation of the work you can expect from me on your wedding day or your portrait session. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think there's perhaps a fault on the bride and groom, whoever booked them, and fault on the photographer if they haven't kept their portfolio. But I have seen as for shooting JPEG, there are people who say there's nothing wrong with shooting JPEG. I try not to. I always shoot in RAW and then back up in JPEG just in case, but I am 100% like a RAW girly. But I have seen this. Okay, this one has done the rounds a few times. One is called the gift demander. There was a bride who told her photographer to bring a wedding gift and preferably cash. I think this is true, but I found it. It's true. According, obviously, if you believe the story that was put up, it is fact. Someone needs to explain to me how that ended in your head. Oh, I'm paying you to be here, but you need to give me some money. So is it like a cheeky way of getting some sort of a partial refund? Um, I have had like, when you spend some time in the Facebook groups, aren't they the greatest places? You're in the Facebook groups, right? And you see some of the some of the stuff from couples. Like this woman was kicking off because her suppliers didn't give her a wedding card at least. They're like, they didn't even give me a wedding card. Like, I'm like, they're at work, babe. They're at work. They shouldn't have like I get that you want one, but like seriously? I've had all sorts of things, like, I've been asked of me that nothing that's been awful, really. 1 or 2 that I've been like, "Huh?" Like, one person said, what was it? "Oh, we'll supply you with water, but if you want anything else, you need to buy it yourself." And I was like, "Yeah, no problems. Like, I don't mind that. Like, I bring my own lunch." Only to arrive at the venue and found out that I'm not allowed to eat my own food at the venue. I have to go and sit in my car in the car park. And I was like, "Oh, okay." But then was mistold and I had to actually leave the premises. And if you're in a certain area in the UK, you might know who this venue is. You're not allowed to bring any outside food and drinks into their venue. You have to go off of their venue site to consume it, which is just it's just yeah, yeah. It's a I honestly, yeah, but demanding a wedding gift? Oh my God. Like, so do you know what this photographer did? They wrapped an invoice up. I'm like, "That's petty level expert, that's it." It's amazing. Like, "Oh, you want a gift from me? Here's an invoice. Here's an invoice. Have your invoice." This one was from a client side, and I have seen this. So this is a this I'm just gonna quickly yeah. Hi, I booked a photography session and I want to tell you how awful it was. And dot dot dot. You know it's going bad when it's going dot dot dot, right? So it cost me a lot of money. We're talking nearly $800 to have this session. And when I arrived, bringing my child for the newborn session, I'd pre-booked a certain package. I arrived and no joke, this photographer had their toddler with them, screaming, picking things, pushing over lights, and back chatting. It woke my sleeping newborn up, and that my child could not settle. What was felt like it should have been a luxury photo experience was more like a soft play, and I had no right to object. I still got told I had to pay the full whack, even though I said to them, I cannot have my session in this situation. I feel bad for the client. I also feel kind of bad for the photographer because there might have been a reason why the child had to have been there. Like they didn't have any childcare facility. They didn't something had been let down last minute. But I do think you sometimes have to make that decision. Like my child is behaving for various reasons. Um, I can't continue a good quality session in this situation. I I have had it at my own studio, and I tell this story so much, and people go mad at me, but I'm going to tell you now. This is 100% a true story. I had a woman bring her 2 kids to me for Christmas for a photo shoot, right? She didn't book the Christmas mini session, nothing. She came in for a photo shoot. It was right before my Christmas minis. And I opened the door, and the first thing her kid said to me, he was about 8, he said, "Oh, where's my effing," and he used the proper word, "present." And I was like, "Sorry, what?" And this is before hello, by the way. This is not, I was ready to greet them. And I was in my Christmas jumper because it was around Christmas time, but it was before the Christmas minis were being released. And I was like, "Sorry, what?" And this kid went, I get a present." And I was like, "Is this some," like, I didn't know how to respond. I don't have children. I don't know how to respond to that. And the mum said, "Oh, sorry, I get him a present every time we go somewhere. I should have told you to get him one." Why would I provide your child with a present? Why would, and also, why is your child speaking to me like this? Okay. Now, I put it down to maybe there's, I don't know. I just sort of said, okay, let's move along. So I think I spoke about this before in a podcast. We were started the session, and there was another child with them, their other child. And the mum was on her phone the entire time, taking selfies and photographing behind the scenes of what I was doing. Now, normally I don't mind that, but it was the fact that when I turned round, the other child had climbed up onto my dressing room table that's in the dressing room, obviously, and was trying to pull the mirror off the wall. And I turned around, "No, don't do that, don't do that, you're gonna hurt yourself." And the mum went, "Oh, she'll be fine." No, no, I don't know how to tell you this. No. I'm not trying to parent shame, but just no. If your child pulls that glass off, not only is it gonna damage my wall, not only is it gonna cause a problem, your child could be injured. It is a mirror, and it's at height. And why and it's not even like this child is like a toddler, you know? And maybe there's reasons and I'm not understanding those, so please educate me, and I don't wanna cause offense. But how do you not think of your child's safety first when it comes to this? I looked and went, "No, just please take them down." And they were, "Okay, fine." Really reluctantly plonk them down. This kid then starts kicking things, and I had this peacock chair, right? And I had to replace it after this, and this girl picked up this peacock chair. If you don't, it's like a rattan chair, picked up this chair and just threw it. I was like, "Okay, there's some behavioural this right, okay." And the mum didn't look up from her phone once. This is in my studio, and I just cancelled the shot. I said, "I'm really sorry. I can't work like this. Damaging, you need to pay for the damages." Because the girl had managed to pull the mirror slightly out, so I needed to unscrew it all and put new raw plugs in, right? Bearing in mind, she'd also, with her shoes, scratched the entire top of the, dressing table, and it's a stunning dressing table. And I'm not saying that, like, it doesn't get wear and tear, but, like, deep gouges. I was like, "How is this even possible?" The broken pico check. The mum was so indignant to me, and she turned around and she said to me, she goes, "Oh, and I want the mini session done." And I was like, "Sorry." Yeah, she showed me on my thing, my advert. I said, "Yeah, but they're not due to start until this day." She went, "Well, I want it done now." And I said, "No, I can't do this now." And she said, "Why not?" I was like, "Well, I've just told you I'm ending the session." She goes, "Well, that's ridiculous. It's not my fault you can't handle my children." Honey, I'm not here to handle your children. I don't know how else to explain to you. I'm not a daycare. I'm a photography studio. You've brought them in for a session, and they're destroying the place. I don't know how else to put that. And I'm not, please understand, I know we shouldn't mummy shame, but I don't know what to do in that situation. So I did what I thought was right from an interest of health and safety. We'll cancel it and come back when they're maybe more accustomed to being shooting, or maybe they find the place a bit more relaxing. Maybe there's something we can develop more. And this mum was just, "Oh, don't worry about it. Everyone says this about them." And I was like, "Oh, okay, okay, okay." So it's not nice. I felt really bad, but equally, when they left, no joke, the mirror was hanging off, right? There was scuff marks all over the dressing table. There was where the young kid had used the dressing table. Actually, there was a stool thing. She pulled upside and she put her foot on the door, the handles of the drawers to step up on. She broke those off and split the wood, right? There was, it doesn't matter that there was hand marks all over the wall, they wash off. But the peacock chair was damaged. It had to go in the bin. I had to go find another one. Because it was used for a shoot. So that was what was really annoying. There was, she'd put chewing gum or some sort of sweet and scrapped and rubbed it into the carpet. And I was just, I don't know what to do, because I said to the I don't know what to do. Like, you have 2 children, but you're not looking at them. You're on your phone taking I mean, I get it. I get it. It's such a great time. But if you know one of your children might act like this, like, what, I don't know what to say. I felt awful. I remember saying to my friend, I felt awful. But yeah, this happened. This happened. I think that we struggle to where to draw the line. Okay. So you're probably not going to get so much hate for that one. One couple said in their group that their photographer smelt of booze and kept sitting down and muttering, "This is boring," during speeches. Lens cap stayed on for at least one major moment. That's all on the photographer. That is appalling. You shouldn't be stinking of booze. You shouldn't be slating anyone's wedding while you're working there. If you need to, do it in your private life. Don't do it at the time. And certainly look like you're at work. I don't know what to say about that. That is appalling behavior. I don't care how dull it is. I don't care if the speech is like watching paint dry. I once had a father of the bride speech that went on for 20 minutes and the bride nodded off and nearly landed in her dessert. And I'm not joking. It went on. And that, do you know what? I made out it was the best thing ever because do you know what? It took a lot of balls for him to stand up and say it. So I'm going to applaud and I'm going to do my thing. I am there as a photographer to document this, okay? Did I did I take a lot of shots? No, because it was a speech and he was stood in one spot. I took a few that I knew were good and safe and got the early reactions, but I'm not gonna, I'm not here to slate anyone. That's your Wendy, it's your vision. I might not understand that vision, I might not, but I'm still gonna photograph it like it's the best thing ever because that is what you pay me for as a service, to photograph these memories for you, okay? One that I think we've all kind of had a thing. This must have been a UK photographer because they talk about a UK store. I'm a photographer. I once drove 2 hours to a shoot, only to realize I had no SD cards. So I had to go back an hour and drive to the nearest Currys to get them. The worst bit was I had my clients in the car with me the whole time. They were in full glam and their 45-minute hour session turned into nearly a 5-hour trip. I feel awful. I couldn't believe I had not brought cards. Now, I there are times when I wish cameras had more internal memory. I know there's a camera now that does that now, but I think it's a Hasselblad. I might have it wrong. But it's awful. I've got a shoot today, so I'm literally checking all my cards. I'm like, but yeah, honey, I'm so sorry. Pack your bag. I don't know what to say on that. I always have a spare card in my bag that I never reach for unless I absolutely have to, but it's the same caliber of what I use. It's there as like an emergency backup. And then I also have my cards in my container that are normally the cards I'll use. I know it sounds really weird, but it's in case I forget the container. I've always got that one card. So yeah, I don't know how, yeah, it's always in my bag. Well, this is the shady edit. This was labeled. I paid for a client. Sorry, as a client, I paid for a photo shoot, except what I got was a watermarked image with it with slap banged across our faces. When I asked why, the guy said, "It's just my style. If you want me to remove it, pay extra." Oh my God, they paid for a shoot and he slapped the watermark right across their faces. I, I don't know what to say. I think that's shady as hell. Unless he's agreed that you have to, I don't know. I mean, part of me goes, did you do like, like sometimes you do those fitness races and you do those runs and they'll have like sport pictures and then to get the watermark removed, you have to pay for it. I wonder if maybe it was that and the client didn't understand. But I mean, if it's not that situation, I'm like, ugh, I don't know. That's just terrible, dude. That's just terrible. That's just terrible. Imagine paying for a shoot and you got their watermark all over your face. I'm somebody who doesn't actually watermark my work ever, if, or very rarely. The reason I do that is because it's still copyrighted, so I don't care. Willful ignorance isn't a thing for me, so I will go after people if they steal my work. I don't care. And just so you know, if you're a non-photographer out there, or even if you're a new photographer, putting your watermark on something doesn't make it copyrighted. In the UK, under unless there's some reason you've been hired as like it's your day job and they claim copyright when you're working for them, um, the copyright remains with the photographer unless you sign it away. So whether there's a watermark on it or not, I don't think I've ever looked at a watermark and go, damn, I need to know who did that shot. I don't. I just look at the whole image and then Google reverse image search. So but yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe this could have been like a sporting event. So let's just leave that. The social media slip. Photographer took our wedding photos and posted the previews before we'd seen them and then tagged the wrong people. Okay, it's very easy to tag the wrong people because I'll be honest, it's not YouTube, Facebook is a nightmare, is an absolute nightmare. Sometimes I can tag clients and sometimes it won't let me. But I can see that that's not great. I mean, I post my previews about a week after I've sent them to my client or because I can see on Pixet when they've downloaded them. So once they've downloaded them, I will wait maybe a week after before I post them. So that's why sometimes I'll say a couple weeks ago or a couple days ago or whatever on my posts because I want people to know. But yeah, I Yeah, I have this thing, like, you need to tell people if you're gonna post them, and sometimes also remember, just be careful on this, not everyone wants their image on social media, and you do actually have to ask if you can use it. I've done a couple weddings recently where people have said, "We just don't want it on social media," for various reasons, but could you imagine? Oh my god, that poor couple. Imagine everyone seeing your wedding photos before you've even told people. Grabby groomsman. A photographer on Reddit got groped by a groomsman during a bar hop leg of a shoot. She packed up and left, no regrets, zero. Do you know what? If I got groped, I'd be gone. I would also be on the phone to police saying I got groped. Like, don't grope me. Don't grope me. I I tell this story quite often. I'm going to tell you this story, and I'm going to leave it as vague as possible. But it is a venue that is no longer a venue here in Northamptonshire. It might even not quite be Northamptonshire now. It might be outside of it. I need to figure that out. It's in a famous place though. So, or a famous area, not a famous place. The place itself is not famous, but the area it was in. Okay, so and in fact, I have the couple whose wedding this was, still talk about this event. So I was at this wedding, a beautiful venue, stunning. We're in one part of it. It's absolutely old. It's beautiful. It's got chandeliers. It is amazing. I'm photographing. I become aware that when you know you're being looked at. Like I become aware that there was someone looking at me. So I look around. Now I'm a photographer. I expect this to happen, but so I've got them queued up by this beautiful pillar area, right? I think it's where the carriage is, or like the entrance to the old house, right? And out the window to the side, which is not in shot, thankfully, there is a guy, like some ghoul, staring out of the window straight at me. And I was like, oh, he's just someone, he's a guest. So it turns out he's the maitre d', he's the head, he's running the reception. I found this later on. So anyway, I'm like taking the pictures and everything. He walks past me and he goes, "Oh, you're doing a really good job. Like, thank you very much." Carried on. And he kind of stops and does this weird deep breath. Well, I don't know how to describe it. It was weird. And I was like, "Oh, that's weird." Carried on looking. Now, please understand, I'm not saying I'm a looker. I'm not saying I'm drop dead gorgeous. I'm just saying I'm a girl at work, okay, or a woman at work. And I was suited and booed. I was at a wedding. I was doing my job. Anyway, this person continually walks past and makes just these weird sort of like one point he walks past and goes, "Mm," at me. And I'm like, did I mishear that? Did I? And I'm like, that's weird. I thought maybe he's just sighing. Don't want to read into it. I don't want to. Yeah. Anyway, the videographer says, "Hey, Khandie, can I use you? Can you test the mic?" Because obviously they know that during the speeches, the couple have said that their dad might move around, so they might go, "Khandie, could you just move around?" So I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." So I'm on the mic's up, and I'm taking photographs of the wedding cake, right? Because before they cut it, and they're just outside doing some cocktail. I don't know. They're doing like a cocktail hour before the meal, and I'd gone in to photograph the reception with nobody in it, like you do, right? So I'm doing this wedding picture of the cake, and the maitre d' guy comes out. And I take this cake and he stands right by the cake and I'm like, "Hey, do you mind just taking a step so I can get this shot?" And he's like, "For you, anything." And I'm like, "Oh, cheers." Like thinking nothing of it because like, people say that in sarcasm, whatever. He then walks up next to me and he goes, "I'd love to see you naked." I was like, "What?" No, like I'm laughing now, but I was like, "What?" Well, here's the thing. I'm mic'd. Not only has a videographer got a full audio clip of it happening, he had connected it the DJ set, so it boomed across the entire reception just as guests started to filter in. So all the guests heard this, right? I turned around aghast, flabbergasted, I don't know. The owner of the venue was immediately summoned by a member of staff. I don't know what happened at maitre d', but days later while I was editing the photos, he's a ghoul in the back of loads of these photos staring at me. And I want to preface, I am not a looker. I am not a stunner. I was just stunned. The lady was aghast. I had no idea. And that has to be the creepiest thing that's happened to me at a wedding so far. Like, who does that? Like, I think it was more creepy because it was like, I don't know, like a horror movie. There's this little face in the back of every photo. And I was like, what the hell? What is this? I don't know. But can we just collectively scream? You've got people turning up to the most important day of someone's life without a clue and editing on phones, ghosting paying clients, bringing their toddler, expecting gifts. I mean, the faults are everywhere and anywhere. But honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if someone offered their client exposure in exchange for them being photographed. Like, could you photograph me? That'd be good. I don't know. But one thing's clear, this isn't about perfection. It's about being professional on both sides. Okay, we're allowed to screw up. We missed a shot, it happens. Camera dies, it happens. But if you are consistently not communicating, showing up late, unprepared, ghosting people after taking their money, that is not a mistake. That is malpractice. That is borderline, dare I say, illegal or at least immoral. I don't know. And it hurts everyone. It damages trust. It justifies lowballing. It makes everyone, I'll do it for my mate for free situation harder for the rest of it. Honestly, it's insane. So, photographers, let's do better. How not to end up on the next Reddit roast fed, I think, free feed, fred. Contracts, always charge properly so you're not working resentfully. Prep your gear and then prep it again. Show up clean, sober, with a damn timeline. Respect your client's time and emotion. Back up your work. Don't chase likes over ethics. And if you're burnt out, step back before you snap and ruin someone's day. And dear clients, how to spot the red flags. If you're booking a photographer, do your due diligence. Ask for full galleries. Don't just look at their Instagram highlights. Demand a contract. Communication is key. Notice those red flags early. Check reviews, but also read between the lines. Sometimes people get a negative review and it's because the client is at fault, but they're doing everything to hide it. Sometimes photographers are at fault and they're doing everything to hide it, you know? But also, if someone is charging 500 quid for a full day, it gives me a little red flag. If someone is charging £300 for a full day, that's a massive red flag. I'm sorry, but it is. I don't know how you can justify a wedding for 300. I don't care, because it's not just the day, it's not just the equipment, it's the days after of editing, it's all the software. You honestly, no. People pay more for their hair sometimes, okay? Like, I just feel like you're gambling, and then these are the people that are going to complain, and I'm like, I don't know what to say to you. So here's the bomb, my friends. If you're out here delivering excuses instead of your work, you're not just messing up a shoot, you're burning the house down with all of us in it for you. There's no shame in learning, but there is a shame in taking money, making a mess, and calling it your process. You either get better or get out of the way. Simple as that. And an outro, I guess, could be, have you got a horror story to share? Maybe it happened to you. Maybe you were the villain and you've reformed. I would love to see that one. There was a famous one on social media ages ago about a photographer who literally did loads of people's weddings and then hid. And even though they offered to send her hard drives, she wouldn't load them onto hard drives. And it all came out. There was various reasons it caused a lot of problems. There's a lot more levels to it. But I think it doesn't help them because horror stories get more traction than good stories. They really do. Either way, spill the tea. DM me at Khandie Photo on Instagram or whatever. Drop it anonymously into the Loud Lens message book. I don't mind. Message book, Facebook group. But maybe we could do a feature, maybe next episode, Photographers Behaving Badly, the sequel. Don't forget to rate, review, and share this episode with your favourite photographer mate or your nightmare ex-second shooter. Until next time, stay professional, stay prepared, and please, please, please prepare. Click, flash, mic drop, boom. Anyway, I'm off now to do my own wedding. So I'll see you all soon. Bye.